In this video, we'll talk about the narrative essay. It's all about writing a short story. The narrative essay is a very short story that starts and concludes in a limited number of words. And like any good story, your narrative essay should have the following. Firstly, the setting should be clear. That is where the story takes place. You should have a main character, and your main character should face a challenge and hopefully overcome that challenge. A series of events will lead to the climax. After the climax, you should have a resolution. Now, depending on the number of words that you are limited to, your essay could be anywhere between 5 and 7 paragraphs. Longer essays might move into more paragraphs. Your first paragraph is the introduction. Here you should set the tone, describe the setting, and introduce the main character. From there, you move into a series of body paragraphs, the first of which should introduce the conflict, some kind of challenge. If you want, you can already hint to the conflict in the introduction. As you continue with your body paragraphs, develop the conflict, add tension. The last paragraph of the body paragraphs should be the climax, but that's not the final paragraph of your essay. Your final paragraph should be the falling action. What comes after? What has happened to your character after the climax? Has your character grown? What lesson has he learned? This is how you conclude your story. An important part of any piece of writing is the planning. Your planning can be a mind map, it can be a list, it can be a group of random keywords, could be a timeline. Use whatever technique you find comfortable. What you should do is write down some ideas. Write down ideas related to character. The type of character you want your main character to be. Small, naive, innocent, or brave, sporting, rebellious, your choice. Make sure you have an idea of the setting. Write it down. School, home, the moon, all depends on your story. What is the conflict? In other words, the challenge that you want your main character to go through. Is it the loss of something important? Is it the lack of courage to ask somebody out on a date? There are so many different types of conflict, but your character needs conflict. Climax. What will be the climactic moment in your story? And do you want your character to come out victorious, or do you want your character to lose? Choice is yours. After the climax, we generally move towards a resolution. What is it that you want your character to learn? Write that down. Perhaps it's a lesson in humility, or perhaps it's how to have more courage. It all depends on the story that you are trying to tell. If you are satisfied with your planning and that you've got enough ideas down, it's time to start a draft. A draft is a rough writing. Now, we do not assess the rough work. The rough work is for you. Write it out. Try to compile the story in a logical manner. Decide if you want to be a character in your story. Then you'll use words like I, me, and we, and that's called the first person narration. But you can also write the story as if you were an outside observer. You'll use words like he or she, and that's called the third person narration. Also decide on the tense that you want to use. It's usually easier to write in the past tense, but you may use the present tense. Whatever you decide, be consistent. Remember, this is the rough draft. Have you ever wondered what makes an essay truly great? The answer is editing. Edit, edit, edit. Read your rough draft and check that the story flows logically. If not, rearrange the information. Take out what doesn't belong, add something if you need to. Check if you can use better words. Check your spelling and sentence construction. Make all corrections on your rough draft. Then read the text again with the corrections. Are you satisfied? Go back and do some more editing if you are not. Once you're truly satisfied and you feel that you have corrected all the tense mistakes, that your story flows logically, that the spelling is correct, that the sentences have all their full stops and capital letters and the words are in the correct order, then go ahead and write down the final version of the essay. Please remember to include a heading on your final and rule a line through your rough work. Let's get into some editing. The extract in front of you comes from an essay, but it does not work. Read through it, then decide why it does not work. Pause the video. When you're finished, push play. So what was wrong with that extract? Could you figure out what the essay was actually about? Would you believe me if I told you that the topic was a memorable Valentine's Day? How many paragraphs until the writer got to the idea of Valentine's Day? And was there anything in the opening paragraph that grabbed the reader's attention? This fails as an essay, because when you have 200 or 210 words to use, we've already used 80 words and done nothing with it. The idea is to get to the conflict as soon as possible. Don't include information that doesn't add to the tension, climax, and resolution. Let's continue with editing. The extract in front of you is much better in terms of content, but there are many spelling errors. Pause the video and try to fix as many of the spelling mistakes as you can. When you're finished, you can push play again. Did you find all the mistakes? Notice that many of the errors have been corrected. They have been highlighted for your convenience. See if you caught them all. Pause this video, check your work, and push play when you are ready to continue. If you did thorough reading and editing, you will have noticed that we missed some. This is an important lesson in the role of editing. You should not read through your draft only once and do the editing. Read 2 or 3 times, because sometimes we miss errors the first time round. Notice this time that other words have been highlighted in blue. I think we've caught all the words now. If you're not sure, use a dictionary. Let's take a moment and look at that opening paragraph. Let's analyze the language. The warm sun peeks through my bedroom curtains. It fills me with joy. It's Valentine's Day and I'm excited about giving Lucy her Valentine's gift. I've spent a fortune on the perfect gift. How can she say no to me now? In this essay, I've chosen to use the word peaks. It's a good alternative to shines. I've also chosen to use the word excited instead of very happy. Can you think of other words to express emotion? I've spent a fortune on the perfect gift. Fortune works better than lots of money. And we end the paragraph with a rhetorical question. How can she say no to me now? We don't expect an answer. It's useful because it shows that the narrator is confident in his plans to woo Lucy. Now it's your turn to try and write the essay. Complete the narrative essay that was begun in the previous slide. It's called A Valentine's Day to Remember. Used between 160 and 210 words. You must include the first paragraph in your essay. You may change it to the past tense if you are not comfortable using the present tense. Good luck.